Well, you and me are Irish, so we're habitually pessimistic about tomorrow, but optimistic about the day after tomorrow. So that's the answer. And I think, but to be more serious about it, oh, by God, if consciousness is left at the door, which I tend to think is happening, yes, then, we have to be realists and go, but at the same time, there is a turning of the tide now where consciousness and the understanding of our personal responsibility in all of this, and not finger pointing, it's them, it's over the hill. If we can turn that corner, then the whole game changes. This was pointed out in Professor Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, in which the most insignificant, smallest, lowest level of society has the biggest effect. Can do things that powerful wizards cannot do. Right? And if it was good enough for Professor Tolkien to believe in that, it's all right for the rest of us to believe in that. They can't win, because I've all said in my other metaphysical work, evil contains within it the seeds of its own destruction. And one really needs to meditate on that deeply and also see it applied in your own life, with the tossers that surround us and all the evil injustices that are done, even in plain view. Watch that experience. Watch what happens to a person who's evil and ruthless and negative. Just observe it. And you'll notice that this is in fact the case. And it's certainly the case up the fractal. Evil contains within it the seed of its own destruction. The moment that you take that kind of anti-human negative stance, you're just waving a red flag to nature, go come and get me, which is exactly what's happening now. It's called the age of revealing and the age of awakening. All the message that somebody like me can give is, can you please get into the spirit of that? Because it's happening anyway. And you can either get into sync with it, or you can just sit there and be smashed when the river takes a turn. Your ego boat, right, will be smashed. Can you let go of the shores, like the Hopi prophecy says? Can you let go of the oars and go with that flow? Because it's a very dynamic flow, and it will handle it. What happens with us is that we think, oh my God, what's little old me going to do? It's really difficult, And then it becomes like you're suddenly taking it personally, as if your ego is going to be able to run out there like in the old days, grab a sword and do something about it. We have no capacity in that realm. It's a mixture between tremendous responsibility and self-awareness of it, but at the same time the ability to, as Neil was saying, go yin. Let go and let the higher force guide you, because without that guidance, you're pottering around is like a kid with a giant sword, playing games. A higher form of guidance and a higher form of strategy takes care of this. It doesn't mean abnegate your responsibility, but it means try to always remain with your head in the clouds but your feet on the ground. This is both a physical war, but it's also a psychic one. And the guidance that comes to you is the most important thing, and it will show you where to go and what to do about it. And that kind of particular guidance I'm talking about is not the same kind of sorcery that the Black Lodge has. They have high intelligence, and they have tremendous human knowledge about us on the most fundamental levels. But they lack that connection to the higher intelligence. And that's their ultimate downfall, together with what I said about evil having the seeds of destruction within it. You choose that road, and you will be terminal. You choose the organic, living, feminine, flow of the Tao, and no matter what tyrannies exist in the world, no matter how things get bleak, even if things got 10 times as bleak as they are now, worse, like a prison planet, really and truly, as long as you're with that flow, you're in your center, and it doesn't matter, you see. So it's all about where you are, and they can't inhabit that place, which is why they want dominion, right, over the world. If you can't rise yourself, what's the next best thing? Push everybody down. You're actually remaining exactly where you are, but you've done a good job, like the teachers and bastards we have to deal with every day. They're going to, push you down, and then they feel mighty high. Well, that's what the Bushes and Obamas and the Stalins and all do. They cannot rise themselves, and we have to understand this. They're static spiritually. And the moment that you start doing your spiritual homework, the moment that you do your spiritual homework, you are then on the road to victory. That's the basic way I see it. Just say a few words about it. I showed a clip the other day about the collectivism. It was a logo, a corporate logo, in which person's sense of identity is entirely based on the social persona. So this is where the Black Lodge wants us to be, where you have, or let's put it this way, any sense of self that you do have is basically a collectivized sense of self. That's the herd. They've already done, you're already doing the work for them then. And they don't need to do anything more except impose, the chains of gold upon you if you're not able to really connect with what it is that makes you unique. We all know what it is that makes us the same as everybody else. Our names, our philosophies, even the work that we do. You say you're a taxi driver, well, 10,000 people can say that. What makes you really real? If you stood up and said, well, I'm the man who cares about being, I'm the man who cares about meaning, how many will say that? As Nietzsche and Heidegger and these people have said. But the rest of us goes, well, I paint the walls, or, I drive a bus. There's an inauthenticity implicit in that collective herd, and a stepping out of that into your individuality. Knowing who your enemy is on the physical level, and realizing what they're really about. They're not really about imprisoning you. Somebody talked about affluence earlier. That's right, they don't mind giving you all the affluence. That's not the problem. Their problem is control of your mind and the dumbing down of your individuality. That's where the prison lies. It's an internal psychic one. And the only way for you to handle that is to do what you need to do from your inner self, right? That's absolutely know thyself. And a point will come where you will have to then differentiate yourself from every other creature on the face of this earth. Maybe not the animals, because that was spoken of in other lectures about asking the animals for their power, to lend. Let's not even go there. From the human point of view, it may come to the point where you have so transcended them, the mass, the herd, the das Man, that yes, you feel that you stand alone in the world. Now, do you know why so few people take this road? It's because that's very hard and painful to do. Right? The road to selfhood is very difficult.
The question you asked were, if you could take on the karmic responsibility of the Illuminati, would you do it? And if so, are you not doing it?
We're already doing it. Karma is nothing more than ignorance. Dharma is knowledge. Dharma is awareness, right? Ignorance is what they're in. They're in a form of ignorance. Like I said, they've chosen a road, and ultimately, metaphysically speaking, that's a road of ignorance. By sharing the ignorance or being under the force, under their dominion in any sense of the term, right, which is ultimately meaning that you believe everything they're saying and you don't think for yourself, then you are in a state of karma, as worse than theirs or whatever. You can't measure it. Ignorance is ignorance, regardless if it's on the massive scale, right, of Big Brother, or on your individual scale. The time has come now, though, for the human race to wake up and grow up. And there's a sovereignty and individuality involved in it. Let's go with it. Let's enjoy it. Let's be grateful for the fact. Raise a glass of wine in your garden and celebrate the fact that now has come the final time, either because of the affluence, either because of the historical period we're in, because the tyrants have changed their tactics, whatever. All of that is pertinent. But the same fact remains that some other historical action is taking place, in which the world now, through the internet and through whatever, is getting this kind of information. Celebrate that. Be very grateful for that. And at the same time, always, always, always congratulate yourself for coming as far as you do. It'll negate the pessimism that you may have, and it will really give you enthusiasm to carry on in the future. It just makes you wonder what has been done in the name of this preposterous lunacy. It makes you weep. It makes me weep. I take this very seriously. And I think very deeply about the crimes that have been done in the name of this palaver and this nonsense, you see. So I'm looking at that. I think if these revelations from Ralph or anybody else can insist in any way to the healing of what has been done, because we carry within our race memory, you see, the scars of every human being that's lived on this planet and everything they've had to endure. It's right in you. It's just that we have a circuitry that blocks that. It's called the ego, and we should thank the ego for that ability, because we'd be drowned in sorrow if we had to face what has gone on. And I hope that Leo's talk has, for people who may be new to this, and if you get his book and you'll see what the horrors that have been done in this, never forget that. Because we are the harbingers, we are the descendants of those people who cried in the mines and the factories and the fields. Why? Each individual here carries that weight, because your ancestors died miserable deaths, children in the mines not far away from here, right? On the fields of war, for instance. And in their psyche, they asked why? And you are to provide the answer. So even if there's not a humanitarian shred in anybody sitting here, and I hope there is, but just imagine for a moment that you have no real concern about other human beings. Have at least concern then for your own lineage, your own heredity, your own past, and the forefathers, the uncles, and the ancestors, and the grandparents who died hideous deaths for nothing in wars to keep these tyrants in their place. And the answers that you discover in this life, you're answering their call. So never forget that.
We enslave others to our needs. Bruce Lee said something. He said that each moment that passes changes you. You cannot even own yourself. How can you ever hope to own anyone or anything else? You're passing through. You're in this moment. You must be in the now as a selfhood, because there is going to be this change coming.